I love that.
Well,
Great.
hello. Oh, well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the Greater Picture series. My name is Kimberly Grader, and I am the founder of the Greater Picture, as well as your currently reigning International United Miss New York Ms. 2023-24. And I'm so excited to have a special guest with you today, Miss Karli Sherman. I'm so excited. And just a recap for those of you who haven't tuned in with us before, the greater picture is something that I derived after I had a series of unfortunate events occur in my personal life, and I realized I'm probably not the only person that doesn't know how to turn my trauma into triumph. So my hope is that this podcast series is going to be an empowerment resource, an encouragement resource, and something that inspires you to truly turn lemons into lemonade in your own life by learning from experiences of real life people, because we are all worthy of having our Cinderella moment. Uh, I'm so excited. So, Miss Karli, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Absolutely. My name is Karli Sherman, and let's see, I'm 38 years old. I live in Lafayette, Louisiana, all the way at the bottom, like fall into the Gulf of Mexico south. And I am coming to you as Ms. World Universal International title holder for one more week. I pass on my title in 1 week. Wow. I've been involved with pageantry for over 20 years, so this was pretty awesome to get to the ultimate level of pageant success at the international level. It's been a wild ride, and I've loved it. And I am super pumped to have some great conversation. Like, let's do it.
Oh my god. It's like literally, I have been in awe of you. Like, I found your account on TikTok. I love watching all of your tips and tutorials, and you're like pageant hair from a pageant queen. Like, it's great. I love it. And I love how you always seem to be truly encouraging others to do better and to motivate themselves because,
Yeah.
and that's what this is
Level
about.
up. I don't deal in I always say it all the time. I don't deal in averageness or basicness or mediocrity. Like, you, who is mediocrity? We don't know her. Get out of here. Mediocrity. Gross. I'm interested in excellence. I'm interested in leveling up from whatever level. Does that mean you have to be perfect? No. Does that mean you have to be the best, the number one person at the thing? No. It just means level up. That's like 1% better is leveling up. That's what I'm talking about.
And I think that's something that's so important, especially in today's modern economy and such, when we have all of these mental health issues that are really being brought to the surface, is remembering that what is somebody's best isn't the same for every single person every single day. And someone's best every day isn't the same. Because sometimes it's like everything in you to just wake up before 8 in the morning and actually make a cup of coffee. And others, like you've done A to zero, like all of the doctor's appointments, every flight is booked for the next year. And
Yeah.
you're like Paris from the Gilmore Girls.
I know, and I think that's when it's hardest to give yourself grace. I know, as I identify as a high achieving, high functioning, high intensity person. And it's really hard when I have those really ugly days or weeks or months where the goal is to shower and like eat a real meal today. Like that's succeeding. And I think it's hard because with my personality type, I still feel like I've failed, or I haven't done enough, or I haven't accomplished enough. I don't have the sense of achievement. And like, girl, sometimes taking a shower is the achievement. Like, be proud. I also like celebrating the little wins. Um, I saw some people posting about that on social media, and I'm like, yes, like just the little, even the stupid things, just the little wins, like, yeah, I accomplished everything on my to-do list. That's awesome. But also, like, I don't know, just like, oh my God, my hair looks really great today. Yes, celebrate, acknowledge it, write
My
it down,
thoughts
take a
match. Like,
picture,
it really is a thing.
right? Yeah, it's like the little things, right? Like, oh my God, that cookie was so good. I'm like, take a picture of the cookie so I remember this cookie because it was so good, right? Like, just things.
Oh, I love that so much. Um, well, so our theme is clearly mental health, and my purpose is to make sure that we can equip people around us to truly have those tools that help them navigate from their good to their better days. So, is there a specific concept or like a trauma story that you would like to share? Like some scenario that you think that you have the winning master keys to pass on?
That I have the master keys for. Gosh, I don't know. I believe I've done a lot of solid work on myself, which I'm very proud of, especially, and I do want to be respectful of the term trauma. I will say I am very blessed that I've had a wonderful, just completely angelically blessed life. And I, from the term, if we're going like real kind of counseling world, and like the medical
I'm not certified
version.
in any
Right.
set. So yeah, no, for sure.
To make that clear.
For clarifying that too, because like my trauma is different. Like there's a whole background of like domestic violence and like God definitely gave me a second chance at life type of story. But
Nice.
there's also that trauma of like going through theater and realizing that yes, you are in training for this dream role that you have on the stage, but at the same time, are you sacrificing your own welfare and your own mental health, your own like family circle for your 5 seconds in the limelight? That's a different type of trauma. And
Yeah.
it's either self-inflicted or it's something that you end up in.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. I love it. I just want to give deference to the people who have diagnosed capital T trauma, right? And I want to give them their space. So I think, let's see, I also love that you brought up theater. I'm also a theater kid, and it has been my lifelong dream to be on Broadway. And clearly that is not my reality.
Mhm.
Although
Never
I
say
think
never. Never.
right, never say never. It is never too late. I think I've created my own version. I started my own business 4 years ago, and I'm a professional speaker and leadership coach and a pageant coach. So I still get to be on stage and essentially perform either through pageantry or through professional development education. There's just a learning component involved with it, but I don't really get to play like a character and sing songs and stuff like I would. But I never say never. It's still the dream. A girl can still dream. But I like what you said that there's a, because it's one of the things that I don't want to say I regret. It's that like what if that haunts me every day from when I changed my major as a freshman in college. I started as a performing arts major,
You
and
changed it to what?
I changed to general studies, because I had a lot of interest and I felt really pigeonholed in one specific major. And so general studies allowed me to design my own curriculum, which was awesome. Which is actually what general studies was designed for. It was designed for the high achieving student who didn't want to just pick one subject area. So I still took a lot of theater, musical theater, and dance and music classes, but a lot of other stuff that I was interested in too. And it was awesome. And I loved it. And then I was like, yeah, and then I'll just finish my bachelor's degree, and then I'll just, go into theater. And that didn't happen because reality kicks in. And I was like, I don't know if I want to sacrifice everything in my life, living far away from my family and my home and financial stability and job security. And I didn't know if I want to sacrifice all the things that I had and that I valued for the chance of maybe being successful. Maybe. It's like
Yeah.
it's a really big chance. I don't know if I'm ready for like, and then wild, all these years later, I start my own business and I'm essentially a gig based business as a speaker. Like I still have to wait for jobs to hire me. And when that job is done, it's over. So like I still ended up in a gig based.
It's amazing how our journeys really are. I truly believe that they are meant to be and they will find us. It
Yeah.
just like there's a movie, it's called Sliding Doors that has, I think it's Anne Hathaway in it. It's it's an old movie. It's like from the 80s or 90s. And It literally has her going to catch a train in Manhattan. She's getting out of work early, so excited. She gets to the train and it does like a weird camera glitch. So then it shows you both realities. It shows you what happens if she got on the train and what happens if she didn't get on the train. And it goes through, it's a great movie. Like if you've never seen it, you need to see it. But basically she finds out like the guy's cheating and like how she deals with it, but at different stages in her life. So other
Yeah.
things have happened and it changes like how much hurt there is. Like doesn't change the hurt, but it changes how she handles it.
Yeah.
Because like one of my favorite sayings is that you can't control what happens. The past is the past.
Yep.
What I can control is how I let it affect me and what happens next.
Yep. How you move forward. What are you going to do because of that? Yeah. And like that, I think that's the biggest thing is this, it all has to be a learning process. Like you have to do the work on yourself, the reflection work to work through whatever it was, the pain, the grief, the disappointment, whatever it is. You have to do the work.
And like the optimism, it's just like, so what is my goal? Like all of these things are just awesome and like everything's in front of me and I might have that scholarship, but what do I see myself doing? What is it that I want to do? What do I want to excel in? It's just when you
Yeah.
have, it's like you have those people where they're the glass half full or the glass half empty. Firmly believe that there is still a glass and I can refill it.
I like that. Yes. Well, and I think there's a I deal with it a lot in pageantry and 20 years of pageantry. And I tell people all the time, listen, I may be sitting here as an international title holder, but I've been competing since I was 15 and I didn't win a title till I was 33.
But was it the system or was it you?
It was both. I started, I think, for two reasons I started winning. I was in my 30s and I knew who I was and I found my fierceness in my 30s. And I became, that made me a better competitor because I had self-assurance that I didn't have before, which I also think is just a gift of time and aging and growing up. And I had done the work on myself to know myself, to be able to show myself through the pageantry process. And I found systems where I was a better fit and where I belonged. And I think that's a huge lesson of like, if you like, you have to go where you fit. There's a story out there about, a dad buys his kid this vintage antique car. It's totally busted, has holes in it. It's all rusty. It doesn't run. But it's this vintage, super cool car, right? And the kid is like a high school student and is like, what do I do with this? I can't even drive it. Like, what do I do with this car? And the dad is like, well, why don't you go take it to a pawn shop and see what you can get for it? And the pawn shop guy is like, bro, this car is like a hunk of junk. I'll give you $100 for it, whatever. And the kid's like, what? And then dad is like, well, why don't you go take it to a mechanic and see what they'll offer you for it? And so takes it to this body shop and is like, oh, there's some really cool vintage parts here. I'll buy these parts from you for $1,000. It's like, wow, well, that's really cool. And dad was like, wait, why don't you take it to one of these vintage car clubs and go to their next car show and take it there? So the kid takes this car to the car show and everyone is oohing and awing over this formerly hunk of junk car because it is this absolute priceless classic car, right? And someone is like, I'll buy it for $50,000. And so the lesson here is, if you got to go where you're valued, you don't need to change who you are or be broken down into your parts to have value. You just need to go to the right place and find the right people, the right organizations, whether it's a pageant system or a romantic relationship or a job. Like, you got to find your place and your people. And that takes time and it's uncomfortable. And that's important because that's part of the human process and experience is negative experiences and negative emotion. That's, I don't know if you've talked about this before, but the lovely phrase of toxic positivity, which is one of my most hated things out there. It's a great thing. If you don't know about toxic positivity, Google it or even type it in like a hashtag. There's a lot of great content creators on social media who talk a lot about toxic positivity, but it's basically the it's eschewing and ignoring negative emotion in favor of just hyper positivity that goes so far as to be not only unhelpful but harmful, because you are negating the negative experience and trying to push it away rather than feeling your feelings, which is important, because negative emotion and negative experiences are part of life, and we're going to experience. It means you're doing it right. It means you're like doing humanity right, and you're not a robot. So good
I've heard
job.
the concept before, but I actually haven't covered that in the series so far. But I haven't heard it coined just like that, and I really do like, that is such a poignant point that, like,
Yeah.
should be included in everything.
Oh my God. Yes.
Because it reminds me so much of, like, some of those movies. They're like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you. So nice." And they're just, like, being, like, that
Correct.
artificial.
And it's the phrases like, well, it could be worse, or always trying to find a silver lining, or somebody else has it way worse off, or this could have happened, or even trying euphemisms are a big problem, especially in the world of toxic positivity, especially when it comes to bereavement and grief. We
Yes,
won't say the bad thing. Someone passes away or someone goes to a better place. Well, they died.
they are no
They
longer
died. Right. And bereavement is a loss. Could be a loss of anything. A person could die, a pet could die, a relationship could die, a job could die, right? There's a lot of things, but it is death of a thing. Then you are bereaved, separated from that thing, and therefore grief follows. And that is a negative experience. It's gross. That's probably my biggest thing. Back to the original question of like, what is your hurt or trauma story? Probably the biggest thing for me has been grief processes through the death of my mother 14 years ago. And then more recently, my dog, who was my family, about a year and a half ago.
Mm.
And those have been my probably biggest hurt in my life, and have had significant impact on my mental health, stemming from the grief and my process through that. And I did some good things that were healthy and helpful, and then I found some coping mechanisms that were not healthy and helpful, and have had to then recover from that too. Yeah.
You know what? What you just said, it actually reminds me of a philosophy course that I took back when I was in college, and it was my favorite course, like, of all time.
Nice.
I took I was that person who also took 30 credits a semester. I had 2
Yay.
majors, 2 concentrations. I took everything from theater to dance and was graphic designing everything on campus, if not being in them as well. Like, I don't know how I survived. But I had this professor, and his name was Dr. Flower, and it was, like, his last year teaching, and I was a sophomore in a senior class because my crazy plan to become basically the first, like, tri trilogy? 3 whatever 3 majors would be, because I had the honors program too.
Nice.
I had to take this course that semester, and his philosophy was that we were each other's judges, and all of the students actually read everybody else's, like, evaluations every course period, and you either got a plus, a check, or a minus. And one of we would just talk, like, the most random things, and you learned so much about it. So it was actually a philosophy course about Greek theater, and
Ooh.
exactly, it was, like, all of the good things, like, in one. And when you go right to the hubris of what philosophy is and what Greek theater is, you realize that the reason why things are funny is because they are true. And the
Yes.
only things like tragedy and comedy are the same thing. It's just how it's delivered. So for me, feel like when any person is trying to figure out, like, what is my core being? What is it that makes me motivated when I get up in the morning? What inspires me that I want to be the next, like, public speaker? I want to be the person who delivers, like, the next Gettysburg Address. Like, what inspires me to be the creme de la creme of this crop? It comes back to probably a time that we were either the happiest or we were the saddest. Because, like, with me, that day that I knew that theater wasn't this place for me anymore solely because I was telling other people's stories instead of telling my own story, was because I was losing the family that I knew. Wasn't like
Mm,
anyone had died, but, like, that relationship, that connection was gone. Like, that was never gonna be the same.
yeah.
But it's like if you're ever stuck, I feel like that's one thing, like, when you're trying to figure out what is it that makes me tick? What are the 5 moments in my life that really stick out? And it can't be when I was born because none of us remember that.
Yeah, I have an exercise that I do with some of my coaching clients. Um, that's if the idea is to level up and continue to get better, you have to know yourself first before we can show ourselves or be our authentic self, which is why I just made a video about this recently. I hate the whole like advice of just be yourself, especially in like pageantry or when you're interviewing for something. Just be yourself. What
Which
does
is
that even mean? It doesn't even mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. Stop it. I hate that. It's the worst because just be yourself. Well, if you haven't done the work to know yourself, to self reflect and evaluate and take inventory and put words and phrases to that and accept it and then change what you want to change. If you haven't done that, then you can't be yourself because you don't know yourself. Like you have to know yourself before you can be yourself. Like that's so stupid. Anyway,
it's
that's my
not
rant.
stupid though. It
That's my
really
rant for the day. Yeah. I'm like, you got to know, you got to put in the work. Anyway, so one of the things that I like to do with some of my coaching clients is think about a time when you were at your best, right? You were in the zone. It doesn't have to be like the time I won Human of the Universe award. Like it doesn't have to be some like aha life-changing moment. It could just be like a day when you were just really on it and you just like crushed it, like in your everyday life, right? But when you were really on, right, you weren't feeling nervous about something or stressed. You were in the zone. You were in your element. Things were just clicking. Things were flowing, right? And you think about and write it down. What were you doing physically? What was your body doing? What position were you? Were you sitting? Were you standing? Were you moving? Were you working? Were you talking to someone? What were you doing? What was your mind doing? Like, where was your mind at? What were the emotions like? And then what was around you? Like, where were you? What location were you at? What space were you in? Who was there? Who was around you when you were at your best? Who was around you before and after that moment in your day? And if we think we can parse it out into all of its subsequent parts, all the bits, the who and the what and the where and the when and the why and the feelings and the smells and what I was wearing and perfume I had on, whatever, like all the little bits
Mhm.
that come together that make you the best. Great. How can I have more of that? How can I have more of those days? How can I physically feel my best, mentally feel my best? Who do I need to be around? What do I need to change about my space that I'm in? Is that my home space? Is that my office space? What can I do to create more experiences like that time when I was really on and I was really nailing it? And I was at my best. What do I need to change? And then you make the answer is in stop, start, and continue, which I learned from Disney. I used to work at Disney World, and that's one of the tools they use is stop, start, and continue. And it's just 3 columns, right? So if I want to achieve more times like this when I was at my best, this day when I was at my best, what do I need to start doing? Oh, well, I really need to start getting ready and doing my hair and makeup because it makes me feel fierce. Okay, great. I need to start doing that every day. What do I need to stop doing? Well, I need to stop, I don't know,
Going to
eating
McDonald's.
trash garbage food because it makes me feel sluggish, right? Okay, sure. And then what do I need to continue doing? I think we forget about the continue. We forget about that one. It's not always stop and start. We are doing good things. And we need to recognize the things that are working and write them down. Continue doing that. Right. Yeah. That's one of my like super practical bits. I like that one.
Uh, it's funny because I almost worked at Disney too. We could have met in so many different lifetimes here.
Right.
It's like not well, there's a few other things. That's really funny. And it's also just like maybe it's an invisible string. And yes, in my free time, I do practice finding Taylor Swift Easter eggs. But you're a current international title holder, and hopefully this will be leveled up to the international title in less than a
Yes.
month. Ah, I'm so excited.
That's awesome. I'm so pumped. I give up my title next week.
No.
I don't know if I'm ready. I think I'm ready. I don't know. We're gonna see. I started packing. It's fine. So you compete in July.
Yes.
It's so exciting. Oh my gosh. Is this your first national
This is actually my second international.
pageant?
So I've been very blessed and fortunate. I didn't start doing pageants until I was junior in college, senior in
Nice.
college. So I got in later. But I've held several state pageant titles. I've held a couple nationals, and I've reached the international level one other time when I was top five. So we'll see. But that's why I think it's so important to really like not only evaluate yourself, but also evaluate your surroundings and then evaluate your goals. Because like you were talking about like being yourself and knowing who that is, and that's one of the reasons why I was so drawn to International United Miss, because their whole theme is that they don't discriminate. It's very like inclusive. They base the queen's year around the actual queens who win. Like it's literally about who the delegate is, what their interests are, the community that they care about, and how they can best like reach that platform to the rest of the globe because there's people from around the world. But
Yes.
it's hashtag sisters by Sash and IUM because you matter most. So it's just it also appreciates like the social media marketing genius that I love.
Perfect.
So what we have a few more minutes left is what is like the number one thing that you would recommend to someone who is going into a pageant?
Oh my gosh. Oh, number one. Just one? Just
Well, you can do however many you want. Let's do
okay. Okay. Um, First thing, I think it's smart to get a coach. And that's not just because I am a coach, but every good coach has a coach. I have had a coach my entire pageant career. And you're like, okay, well, I could just like watch YouTube videos or I could follow pageant queens on TikTok and watch their videos. Yes, you could and you should for sure. And there are coaches on social media that you should follow and you should get more information from. But if you have your own coach, that information gets tailored to you. That walk pattern that you're seeing this person do on social media gets tailored to you and your body and your style and your dress and your ability level, right? And the coach helps you see blind spots that you can't see yourself. So I could watch this video and emulate what this person is doing in their evening gown modeling walk, but I may not realize that my left arm stays still and looks like it's just frozen and glued to my side, which is what my left arm does, by the way. It's weird. And so like a coach would help you be like, hey, your arm is doing weird things. That's clearly where you're carrying tension in your body. How can we relieve that tension and draw, and work on your left arm, whatever. So I think having a coach is imperative, not just for the preparation and the logistics, but also a good coach will help you develop as a person, which is one of the most powerful parts of pageantry. And I think pageantry at its best is when it's used as a tool for personal and professional development and for community impact. I think that's pageantry at its worst is the ugly stereotypes of being surface level sure that exists is out there. It's out there right. But I think pageantry at its best is developmental and it's skills building and it's developmental. And also make sure that
leaves. So,
See what you did there. I like that.
I I could talk to you all day.
I know this is fun. This is
Well,
great. I'm a fan.
it's funny too, because how do you say the town that you're in Louisiana?
Ooh, we say Lafayette. So it is named
Oh,
after the Marquis de Lafayette of Hamilton fame, played by
well,
Diane Diggs in the
I
original.
grew up in Lafayette, New York, so it's funny.
Perfect. There's also a Lafayette, Indiana that people know a lot about. And it is named after the Marquis de Lafayette, which is how you say his name,
Hmm?
which is French. And it is Lafayette. That is not how you say the name of our city. Even though it is named after him, we do not pronounce it the same way. Louisiana is very known for that. We like
Okay.
to take words and then we pronounce them our own way. And my city is one of those. It is laugh like haha, eat like the letter, and et. Lafayette. Lafayette. Whatever.
Oh my gosh. It's like if I were to come to Lafayette
There it is.
for a day, where was someplace that I just absolutely had to be?
Oh my gosh. Well, we're going to go to the swamp. And we could either go to, people are like, oh my God, you like live in a swamp. No, this isn't Waterboy.
Is Shrek coming out?
I'm like Shrek living in a freaking swamp. No. And then people will like get the map and they'll like zoom in to where I live. And they're like, what's all of this blue? There's like the green, the land that has like roads on it. And then there's just like no roads. And I was like, well, that's swamp. They're like, Carly, right next to where you live. And I was like, no, I live in a city. The city is adjacent to swamp. So we would for sure go see some alligators in the swamp. And if we
No.
didn't actually go out, because I'm like not a nature girly, that's like not my vibe. We do actually have a swamp in the middle of our city. It is on the college campus, which is my undergrad, which is the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. And we actually have a swamp in the middle of our campus, which is pretty cool. And there's a little like bridge that goes out into the middle of it, and you can see there's turtles and alligators and birds and fish, and it's a full-on real swamp. And
Wow.
sometimes the alligators have gotten out, and that's been fun. The police have to chase him down and put him on a leash and bring him back in. It's wild. Anyway. But we would also probably get some boiled crawfish and some boudin and some good, because we got good food. And I would hope you would come for Mardi Gras if I'm going to suggest a time frame. Also, the weather is usually better. It's 1,000 degrees outside right now, so I don't suggest that. But Mardi Gras is usually in February or March, and it's really Lafayette is not like New Orleans Mardi Gras. It is related in history to New Orleans Mardi Gras, but our vibe is a little different. It's a little more family friendly. We have a few less tourists than New Orleans does. So it is really rooted in the history and the culture, and is not turned into some tourist debacle. So it is really a cool piece of culture and history that is unique to us. Like no one else in the country has the type of Mardi Gras that we have. Sorry, Mobile. They like to claim Mobile has this whole thing with Mardi Gras. And I'm like, Alabama. They
Well,
also don't truly, it's not like a fight to say who is the original Mardi Gras, because Alabama and Mobile's Mardi Gras stems from a different place than Louisiana's does. They share a common ancestor the same way that Carnival in Rio and Carnival like in the Caribbean. You've seen like the big costumes like Trinidad and Tobago, and they have these like wild parades with costumes. Also, in Venice, the mask, like that's where Mardi Gras masks come from, is from Venice's carnival. All of those celebrations share a common ancestor, but then they all developed culturally into their own things.
I think
So
I'm gonna run out of time and I'm so sad. It's like less than a minute. Um, I could talk to you all day. Thank you so, 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 so much for being a guest. And
this was amazing. I've had
it's,
the best.
oh, that means so much. Thank you. Truly. If there's any links, like send them to me and I'll put them. Please, like, reach out like whenever. Like this not have to be like the only time we talk.
Perfect.
Well, so that concludes today's episode. I have absolutely enjoyed every single moment. Thank you so much, Miss Carly. This is
This has been a joy. A fabulous way to spend the evening. So good. And you're gonna crush it next month at the national pageant.
I cannot wait to grow even more by meeting some of the most empowered and inspiring women from around the world. And
Yes.
I mean, that's why we're here, right? That's one of the reasons, like positive pageantry, like we've never met in real life. I met you because of pageantry and I was looking up things on YouTube. And
Yeah.
TikTok. And
Love
this is
that.
like, don't be afraid to reach out to our sisters by Sash because they're like all around the world. And we're all just looking for that place in the world that's our own home. So, ah, you have been a part of my path from trauma to triumph, and I'm so thankful for that.
I'm so grateful to be here and to have contributed just a little something to the process. This is such a great thing that you're doing and helping people and like a really cool way to really spread positivity and help and not just platitudes and niceties and cute little Instagram phrases, like we're
Thank you.
talking about real stuff and real experience and it's really helping people. That's cool.
You're gonna make me cry. Thank you so much. That means so much. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed our episode on toxic positivity because truly, like, we focus on being ourselves, just like you said. If we make sure that we are evaluating ourselves and our goals based on our own development and not judging our goals or basing them on our surroundings, then we are our own greater picture. And that is my reminder for you today, because today is your chance to be your greater picture. So turn your
Yeah.
dreams into a reality.
Oh my God, I love it.
Ah, so if you guys are interested in also being featured on The Greater Picture, please go ahead and email me at thegreaterpicture@gmail.com. And I'll have all of Miss Carly's information listed below. And let me know what you think. But thank you so much. And I can't
Thank
wait
you,
to
Kimberly. You're
thank
the best. This was such a great world-class interviewer. I love it.
thank you from an international title holder. I love it. And your crown kind of reminds me of Anastasia, and I that's speaking of a show, like that's one I always wanted to see on Broadway, but I just missed that. I used to live in New York, like Manhattan, New York. I'm still in New York, but I'm in like bovine outnumber people 2 to 1.
There is a whole state of New York that's not New York City. That's how I feel in Louisiana. Everybody's like, "Are you from New Orleans?" And I'm like, No, there is a whole state."
I mean, we have everything from Niagara Falls to the Adirondacks and skiing to maple syrup. And we actually have the New York State Fair in my backyard, which is actually the largest state fair in all of the Northeast. So,
Very cool.
and then there's Broadway, which is like 4 hours away. So experience it all of the seasons. Come visit.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's changing. We don't have that. We have hot and less hot. Oh my
All
God.
I can think of are different recipes for ice cubes.
Like
And
cinnamon
maybe
I need some ice
smoothies.
hot. I can't. I'm like sweating. I'm
Well,
not inside. I keep it very cold inside, but
well, that's actually one of the reasons that I love New York is because there's none of those like creepy crawly things,
yeah, we got them all.
which is
Mhm.
another reason I'd love to visit Ireland. There's no snakes there. I'm good. And
Love that.
I also
Thank
love the fact that they do all of their own like handcrafts and they don't write them down, which means you actually have to go and like meet a person who knows how to do them to
That's
learn
cool.
it. So that's
That's very cool.
that's my bucket list. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Truly, 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 truly. And please, like, good luck. Savor your moment as your last week of being the most amazing, like, Ms. World, because you truly inspired me, and you didn't even know it until last month.
So cool. This is so cool. This has been a joy. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thanks, guys.
Bye. This was great. Oh, it's gonna cut us off, isn't it?
Yeah, darn it.
Oh.
Stay in touch, will you?
Yes, for sure.
Seriously. Love it.
Perfect.